Welcome to the Exposal. So in the latest episodes of Toby interviewing his pastors at Spac, he interviewed the man who he called the lead pastor of Spac Nation UK, the guy who calls himself Pablo after Pablo Escobar, the man who we also called El Chapo in the exposing videos of Samuel Kokia. And his exposing was so bad that we had to give him 2 episodes of exposing him, which we will put in the description. So if you guys haven't seen it, go and watch that now. He's definitely one of the most notorious pastors at Spac Nation. So in the interview, he spoke about his time going to prison at the age of 18 for robbery. And then Toby asked him what changed when he came out. He mentioned he came out wanted to take the drug route instead of the robbery route because he felt like the robbery route was too loud. But when he met Toby and got mentorship, it is the number one reason for his change when he was 20. Then Toby asked him what he learned about being a pastor at Spac for the last 10 years, leading hundreds of people. Then Samuel Kokia said the number one and the most important thing was mentorship. And he learned to put aside ambition. Toby asked him if he made mistakes. He says he made many. And then later on went on to say it's not mistakes, it's experiences. And his mistakes was doing businesses, borrowed money a lot. He made promises to people who saw him as the leader, and he never followed up to his promise. Then Toby spoke for him, saying basically he took risks in business and it hasn't added up. Then Samuel Kokia said he claims it's normal to try and do better because where he comes from, not many take risks. Now, watch this video to the end because there's a lot of things he's saying there which we will definitely respond to in regards to him taking risks. And then Toby also said to him, how does he attract so many young people? Then Sam says he lives with 18 people and says that he has tolerance. Again, we will respond to that statement towards the end of the video. And that he says he talks to 14-year-olds whose parents struggle at home to live with them. And he has a place of tolerance to guide them. And he speaks about how he started a company of recruitment in 2015 and got about 200 people a month doing jobs, getting trained. Again, a very big lie. And if you watch the exposing video of his, you will see and understand the breakdown of these businesses that he started. And he said he linked up with logistic companies, trading companies, giving young people the skills. Then Toby asked him, how does he feel to become a pastor from a young age and have expectation from people who expect you to be perfect? He says remember that question, Toby again is basically indirecting the exposer, asking that question. Instead of just saying, how does it feel for people to put out videos exposing you and then showing your true colours? But anyways, so Samuel Kokia mentioned he doesn't process it, and he thanks Toby's leadership for that. So because of Toby, apparently he doesn't process any negativity that comes towards him. He says that Toby is also different from before, and he doesn't know if it's a good or bad thing. But it feels that Toby was always being like this, but he just didn't show it at the beginning. Now, Samuel Kokia is saying that from a positive point of view, but he's also confirming what we have always said about Toby, and that's that he always had the intentions of taking from people. He also says that he has no pressure and doesn't hide from being himself. And what people need to do is for a great person to follow them. Basically, he's saying that in life, what everyone needs is just to follow somebody doing something and then just listen to them. Basically, give your life to him. In other words, what he's done with Toby. He's followed Toby and basically has become who he is today. So, again, our response to this is absolutely nonsense. Toby failed to really question him about this man openly saying that a young girl at university, who wanted to give £100 to Spac, and Samuel Kokia questioned her method of thinking and mentioned and actually said who made her think that she could balance her finances like that.
To one of my young ladies, and she's going to hate that I use this as an example, I said, listen, hey, I don't do this with everybody. I said, listen, have you not been paying student loan? She said, yes. I said, listen to me very carefully. I don't care if I'm online. I said to her, so what happened? Why is your seed £100? She said to me, sir, I'm calculating over 4 months. I said to her, wait, what happened? Where did you get that decision from? That's not That's not the way we do it here. Yeah, in other places they can do it that way. Listen, we're all going. When you need money to eat, what you're gonna do is you're gonna message me. You're gonna message me, and if we don't have money, you say, well, you're not eating today. Where did all this logical calculation come into it? But obviously she corrected it straight away. She sent everything. She sent everything to Seed. So, but I was just asking her. So she's already corrected that or whatever. But I'm saying to her, I was just asking her, where did all this logical behavior come from? Like, oh yeah, let me preserve myself £300 every month. And I'm thinking, what? So I said, listen, you're gonna sow, and it wasn't much. You got given 2K. You're gonna sow 1K, right? You're gonna pay off the loans that you said you need to pay off, and then you're gonna have £100 to handle yourself for a month. Eventually, she ended up giving like another amount, right? And just said, no, it's all going to Seed.
Toby failed to ask him why Samuel Kokia took all the money his mother raised from selling the house to give to Toby, not once, but twice. Why does he give everything? Why does he rob from people to give to Toby? Toby also failed to ask him about him being involved in universal credit fraud. So for many people, if you didn't watch the BBC Panorama, there was a lady on that who has cancer, who Samuel Kokia told her to go and get universal credit, and he'd done some dodgy transactions where a large sum of money went to her account, which he took. There's so many things. Toby failed to ask him also why Samuel Kokia is encouraging young people at Spac Nation to mobilize other young people into giving to this organization. Toby also failed to ask Samuel Kokia how comes all the people he's led have all been connected to fraud. These are the real things you should be interviewing him about, not this nonsense of what he's done or what he's achieved at Spac Nation, and then allowing him to give answers like he just followed Toby and that's how he's managed to become who he is. Toby never asked him what happened to your companies, which only existed for a small amount of time, which was dissolved, which made no income. What happened to those companies? Because he claims he employed over 200 people a month, which was clearly a lie. Again, if you watch the exposing video of Samuel Kokia, you will understand the full breakdown of all of his companies, and seeing that all of them were dissolved. None of them made money because he opened them just to get loans out, and then that was it. Toby also failed to ask him about the domestic abuse. We've played videos where there was text messages of Samuel Kokia threatening and kicking out young people from his house just because they spoke about a lady who he was allegedly having an affair with. Toby also failed to ask him what happened to the lady he was engaged with, the lady that brought him to Spac Nation, who Samuel Kokia later on went to cheat on with another lady who he's with today, who's allegedly has had other sexual interaction with many other pastors inside the organization. And Samuel Kokia hasn't done anything positive at all. Samuel Kokia owes many people money. He's behind a lot of people being in debt. He's behind a lot of fraud that's gone on at Spac Nation. He owes a lot of people money. This guy owes a lot of people money. And he said he lives with more than 18 people. Again, we know the reasons behind living with so many people. And Samuel Kokia's house isn't that big. So for him to live with 18 people, there's many people who are sleeping on the floor, many people who are sharing rooms, and in his household, there's many young girls and young boys living there. This guy is the worst role model to have. Samuel Kokia is one of the leaders of Mariamola, and he has trained her. She's always been a woman who's done a lot of crazy things, but he's even more crazy than Mariamola. The only difference between him and Mariamola is that he hides more behind the scene, but he is her leader. So people need to understand that. And she has said many, many times that this guy does not play with his seat. This guy does not play. She's said in her own videos, he's threatened her when he's come to Seed. So he's one of those guys that's responsible for Marimola's continuation of hurting people financially because of the messages that he pushes in their ear. And Toby, again, interviews this guy, this notorious thief, and doesn't even question him about the real things the damages that he's done. Instead, he just asks him if he has any regrets or if he thinks he made any mistakes. Why don't you highlight the mistakes he's made? And these mistakes continues until 2020. So this isn't like Samuel Kokia was doing crazy things for 5 years and then stopped and then changed. This guy has been doing this till 2020. Until now, he's still doing it. The only thing is, because of the exposure, he hid more behind the scene and decided to remain more private than before. But he has said some of the most scariest thing we've ever heard on Periscope about young people. He has forced them to give him their finances. He's taking money from his own mother to give to this guy. So you guys can understand what kind of guy this guy is. So it's a shame. These interviews are quite terrible because, again, Toby is trying his best to make his pastors look good and to make himself look good and for them to thank him for their lives. But the reality is, this interview is only showing that he is so one-sided. And this is a guy who has blamed the BBC and all of the other networks who have exposed them of being one-sided. But look at the interviews he's conducting with his own members. And he hasn't once highlighted any of the bad things that they have done.